All right. I want to thank everybody for taking the Valhallan executive call. We do these calls very often. Actually, we did one last week, and these are designed to be able to give you more insight, more understanding, a little bit better of an idea of who we are and what we're doing here at Valhallan. And so today there are two of us here today. We have myself. My name is Marty Flanagan. I'm the Vice President of Franchising here with Valhallan, and we have Luke Zeland, who is our Vice President of Media and Partnerships. So today's call, we have how this is set up and organized is we want you to be able to ask as many questions as you can. So currently, right now, you are on mute. And what we do is at the end of this 15 to 20 minutes, we unmute you and you're able to ask whatever questions you want, right? So today, this is not a visual presentation. This is just audio. We record all of these and we host these on our YouTube channel. So they're used in a way so that you are able to ask whatever questions you want, and for people in the future to be able to hear the questions that you may be asking and to get better insight and understanding on Valhallan. So today we're going to talk about a little bit more about our business model, so you have an understanding of just how is revenue made, what are we doing, how is this of any value to a parent or to a player. We are not a system where you just drop off your kids to play games. That is not who we are. We're a structured, organized system that's within a safe environment. So we are a franchise system. We have a very experienced team inside an emerging brand inside esports. So today we're going to touch on that business model. You're going to have an opportunity to ask whatever questions you would like to ask. We have about 70 folks that are registered, so there could be a lot of questions. There might be a handful of questions, but this call will go on as long as there are questions. So don't feel like you need to be rushed. Don't feel like you can't ask questions repeatedly. And it's really going to be organized and set up to where it's really going to be about answering your questions. So what are we, what do we do, and what is this all about? Well, Valhallan in itself, we are an esports training academy. And we are a system, a structure where we teach kids how to be better people, but we use esports as our vehicle. So we have proprietary curriculum. We are a brick and mortar. And again, there's a lot of people jumping on. So I just want you to be aware that if you hear anything that we're talking about today and you have a question, please put a pin in that, because there's going to be a Q&A at the end where you can ask any question you'd like. So what is Valhallan and what do we do? Well, again, we are an esports training academy, and we have a proprietary curriculum inside of our facilities that we actually use and designed and created ourselves to really what it's about is creating better kids, and we use esports as our vehicle. Now, Luke is with us today, and Luke is our Vice President of Media and Vice President of Partnerships. And partnerships and media are a big thing in the world of esports. And I'm going to let Luke explain a little bit more about what he does and a little bit more about his experience and history, so you understand why this is such an important role inside of what we do and how we drive traffic to your location. So Luke?
Awesome. Thanks, Marty. So quickly, I will give a little bit of background on myself and my career, and I think that will lead pretty well into the partnership strategy that we have here at Valhallan. And I can talk about some of the partnerships that we're currently working on and why we've gone after those kinds of partnerships. So my career in esports started about 7 years ago. Was it late 2015? At that point, video games and the term esports were just really starting to gain mainstream popularity, especially among traditional sports owners, big brands who sponsor traditional sports teams, and a lot of that, and also really savvy digital media folks, because what they ended up realizing was this really highly sought after demographic of young people is moving away from watching TV, watching movies, going to sporting events, participating in sporting events, and everything was becoming digital, right? They were streaming content instead of watching it live. They were watching Netflix instead of going to the movies, or waiting for movies to come out on Netflix instead of going to see them, and so on. One of the things that was very resilient, one of the activities that was resilient but actually growing in popularity, was playing and watching video game content. And this kind of coincided with the explosive rise of Twitch, the live streaming platform as well. So we started to see a lot of traditional sports teams buy or invest into professional esports teams. We started to hear about how much money some of the pro players and content creators were making while streaming. And I was working in traditional sports at the time and made that jump. So we had an interesting skill set compared to a lot of the people who had just been in esports their whole career. We started to advise for companies like the Golden State Warriors, and we helped them start an esports team now called the Golden Guardians that participate in a number of games, but most notably the LCS, which is North American League of Legends professional league. We worked with Madison Square Garden company, owns the Knicks and the Rangers and the Liberty, and they purchased an esports team. And then we also did sponsorship strategy and consulting for Chipotle and Dr. Pepper as they were starting to get into and involved in esports. I then left that company, joined the Los Angeles Football Club, which was an upstart MLS soccer team here, selling sponsorships for the team and the new stadium they built. And then I only spent a short time there and was recruited by TSM, which is the largest esports team in the world, to join their organization and lead the team sponsorships for them. And we did deals with major technology companies, consumer product companies, fintech companies like Venmo, all kinds of organizations that wanted to promote their brands and products and services to the young people who were following esports and the content creators at that time. So I was there for several years, and then during COVID, actually, right around the same time that a lot of the Valhallan executives started to take notice into esports, I left that team, TSM, and started my own youth esports organization called Next Up Esports. It was a very similar program to what Valhallan is. The key difference was that we were doing everything online or virtually, because a lot of kids, especially during COVID in 2020, weren't able to participate in and socialize in person. So it was an awesome opportunity to give these kids the same kind of experience, social experience, character development experience that they typically would have gotten playing traditional sports. What we found out quickly was that there's actually a lot of kids who don't play traditional sports or are part of any other kind of group activities, and so they're missing out on those social experiences altogether. But video games is a huge passion point for them, and their parents were then starting to look at what are ways that we can support our kids in something that they're really excited about, rather than force them to play on a baseball or a soccer team or go to art class or anything like that. And then it was only about 6 months ago that our company Next Up was acquired by Valhallan to bring on all of our virtual programming. And the value there for franchisees is that we have kids all over the country who are participating virtually. So when I live in Culver City in Los Angeles, when a franchisee wants to open a Valhallan arena in Culver City, we can go down our list and say, great, we have a ton of kids who are already participating on our virtual program. We can help feed them into your arena, so you're not just starting from scratch. And then I also lead all of our partnerships, as Marty mentioned. So our partnership strategy here at Valhallan is really focused on finding partners that provide value to Valhallan as a whole and to the franchisee, and then thirdly, to the player experience. So there's kind of two categories of partners that we have been, that I have been looking for right now. And the first is hardware partners that provide value in terms of equipment to the actual in-person experience. So we are working with computer partners, gaming computer companies, peripherals meaning mouse, headset, keyboard, gaming chairs, gaming monitors, things like that. So the value is, these kids are on YouTube all the time. They know what the new hot graphics card is. They want to be playing with that. They can be relatively expensive. By having them in the facilities, it's a huge draw for the kids who want to be playing with pro-level equipment but might not have it at home. They know that their favorite players are using and promoting, the new cool headset. They get to use that when they come into a Valhallan arena in their hometown.
Let's talk about that experience really quick, because I'm going to go
Yeah.
back. I want to just touch on that really quick. So earlier today, we had a new franchisee, a brand new franchisee into the Valhallan system. And again, if you're just joining us, and if you have a question that you hear us say something or touch on something and you have a question, because quite a few folks joined in just a few minutes ago, we have a live Q&A, an interactive Q&A that we're going to do at the end, and you'll be able to ask any question you'd like in regards to the Valhallan model, anything for Luke. No questions are off the table. You can ask any question you'd like. But earlier today, I received a text message from a brand new franchisee who was an experienced coach. So this is an experienced coach in traditional athletics who just became a franchisee with Valhallan last week. And he was over the weekend at Easter with his family, and he was chatting with somebody, and he received some pretty incredible, this little testimonial he just sent me. He said, my nephew's stepson, a senior in high school, has dealt a terrible life. He kind of lists a few things that's happened. It's horrible. In 3 years, he has maybe said 5 words to me. Over the weekend, his niece starts asking him questions about Valhallan and when he's going to open up his location. And within 3 minutes, this quiet, probably labeled as a outsider in school, opened up and started asking questions and was fully engaged in the conversation. It gave this coach, experienced 20-year traditional athletic coach, goosebumps, because he finally said, he goes, I now realize this is the kind of impact that we are going to have with these kids. So this is a little testimonial that came in this morning from a new franchisee who is already experiencing this, and he's not even open yet. And to go to that experience side of it, Luke, is, I think, really what's important here as we talk about why are we valuable and why are parents going to pay. And once parents start to learn and understand more about what happens when kids are involved in the world of esports, and you and I had a conversation earlier today, and you had some really good insight. And my question to Luke was, and we talk about, again, this goes back to why are we valuable and why are parents going to pay? Why is our business model going to work? Why do we currently have successful financials to show you why it works, right? So we can dive into all those details, but this is the real reason and impacting these kids' lives out there. But the question I asked Luke is, why do kids who play traditional athletics, they can win, they can lose, and there's a different emotional reaction to when they're winning or losing in the world of esports? And Luke, you had some really good feedback that you gave me some insight on. Can you share that again?
So video games are, very, I would say, scientifically designed to evoke an emotional reaction from the players, because that will get them to be more invested, which means they will play more, they'll be more engaged, they'll play for a longer period of time, and ultimately want to spend more money in the game. But for young people, 17 and under, who are playing these games and are going through, pretty rapid, physical and emotional development, they haven't really mastered controlling their emotions quite yet. And so, we, even in our programs, but I've had a lot of parents say this to me too, their kids don't know how to control these emotions yet. And so the highs are really high, but the lows can be even lower. And typically the lows stick around, in your memory a little bit more. There's the term called rage quitting, which is in gaming when you get so frustrated that you just quit the game, or you'll see like a kid throw a controller. Those are some of the things that we strive to teach the kids, and as part of our curriculum. It's completely fine. It's in fact, it's natural to have this kind of emotion when you're playing these games, but you need to learn how to use it and channel it into the right way so it can be productive for you. Our coaches go through training before they work with the kids, and a huge part of that training is understanding what to do in those kinds of situations. And typically, as long as you take the kid away from the situation, you calm them down a bit, and you logically walk them through what was going on and why they were feeling that way, and you encourage them to be very open and candid about their emotions, they're going to understand that what they did was wrong, and they can very quickly go back into the game and start having fun.
And keep in mind, when it comes to our curriculum, we talk about our proprietary curriculum that we have. It balances cognitive skill development and soft skill development. So we talk about going back to Why is our program valuable? Because it's scalable. What we do is fully scalable. We're teamed up with folks like Autism Speaks, for example. When it comes to our curriculum and when it comes to our coaching guides, they are built and designed to be scalable. So you don't have to hire these high-end esports coaches or high-end esports players. What you're focused on are coaches that are passionate about working with kids and impacting these kids' lives. And you're going to see that you're going to have an influx of coaches and interest in being coaches in that age range of 17 to 22 years old. If these kids have experienced the world of esports and they want to continue in their career, now you can plug them into a curriculum and a coaching guide that's a pathway for them. So now you don't have this turnover that's happening right now in the world of retail is crazy. But these kids, they want to be in this environment. This is not about getting a job. They're here because they want to be active in the world of esports. And they can put this on their resume in the future. They can put it on a college transcript in the future. And that's another area that Luke actually is really has quite a bit of wisdom and insight on, is the world of collegiate and professional world, which feel free today during our Q&A to fire away with any questions in regards to that as well. So why will parents pay? Everything that we do, we have 5 different opportunities for you to serve your community, 5 different ways where revenue is driven into Valhallan. So we have our subscription program. Our subscription program is obviously that monthly payment that parents will make. And we balance the value of that parent-player balance for that value. And there's a few different ways that we do that. The subscription model is if I bring in my son comes in, he's 9 years old, he is going to be put on a team, he's going to have a coach, and he's going to have a scheduled time that I drop him off, and he comes in and he's going to do his curriculum, he's going to be with his team, he's going to be with his coach, they're going to have a little scrimmage, and then he's going to have his match after about an hour to 45 minutes at my Valhallan. Then he's going to go into his match. He's going to be in his league play. This is done weekly, so every single week. And there's a monthly subscription to that. And that's obviously where he's doing the curriculum, they're active, there's standings, there's pointing system, and that's where the coaches are involved. That's a big time player benefit. Well, what's the parent benefit? Well, there's a few different things. There's a deeper parent benefit when it comes to understanding that what we're doing is helping their son or their daughter, their player, become a better human being, right? Then there's the other part of it, which is a more instant value, which is we also have something called Club V, which is an additional time where they can come in. We host pop-up tournaments, chess. We have chess programs. We have free play where they have an opportunity to come in as part of the subscription program. So it's increasing the value proposition to that subscription program. So we continue to add value, and we give you all these flexibility opportunities within that to adapt that Club V to your community, your culture, and yourself. So that is all a part of that subscription program. And that ranges anywhere from $135 a month to up to $200 a month, depending upon your community. And that program in itself that right there makes a big difference, because when you have up to 16 hours a month that my son can be active in this program, between pop-up tournaments, league play, when it comes to free play, it's almost like the Club V can be seen as a parent, can be seen almost like glorified babysitting, because you have quite a bit of time. You can drop your son or your daughter off and then go run errands, go out to eat, do whatever you want to do for a few hours, and then come back, and they're in a safe environment. They can't leave. They're monitored by an adult, and it's a safe environment. So then we also have our camps, which is a huge revenue source. We also have our birthday parties, our workshops, our pop-up tournaments that we can do. We're actually doing a lot of beta testing with parent-player competitions and really fun activities to get families involved as well. And that's all about increasing the value proposition of why to be a subscription student, or why even to be involved in Valhallan. So we're constantly working with our partnerships, our franchisees, and obviously our parents to continue to create that value. We have huge competitions that we do also called Rise to Ragnarok, which are huge nationwide competitions that we have that all of our kids can be a part of and participate in, where there are winners and losers. It's not just participation trophies that they get. So, and when it comes to those camps, those workshops, I know that, Luke, you have a lot of experience in the world of camps and workshops. Is there anything that you'd like to add in terms of that whole world of camps and workshops?
Yeah, I'll say that on the camp side, that has been our most busy. That's been our busiest season, because we can effectively charge the same price for a 1-week camp that we can for an 8-week league, and we get kids who come back for several weeks each summer. In fact, I was just looking at some of our historical data when we did signups, and a ton of our signups come after June, because it's kids who come to an early camp session in May or June, have a great time, and then tell their friends, and come back later on. It's also a good way to just test out if it's something that a kid wants to do, because it is a shorter term commitment. You're just showing up for 1 week rather than the whole 8-week season or 2 or 3 month season, whatever it may be. I think it can also be a really actually, I want to touch on one thing you mentioned, Marty, too. One of the interesting things I've learned being in this business is that your customer and your user are two different people, but they are actually related. The customer is the parent who's paying for the program, and the user is their child. What they want out of the program is different, and so how we communicate the value to each is very different. So, for instance, the partnerships I mentioned with hardware companies, that really appeals to the kids who want to play on the best hardware. But for the parents, it's not really their primary goal. They want their kid to be social, to meet friends, to learn how to control their emotions, those kinds of things. And so we work on building out the program in several different ways to make sure that we understand that that's what each of those two groups wants. And that's what's been, I think once I realized that is when the business really started to take off, because marketing materials are going to be messaged very differently than when you get a kid to come into the facility for the first time for a free skill assessment. The things that you're telling the kid are very different than what you're telling their mom or dad who's bringing them in.
Well, and I appreciate you touching on that. Now, I am going to open it up to any questions that anybody has. And so basically how this works is you'll be able to virtually raise your hand, or if you're on your cell phone, I believe it's *6, and you'll be able to, it'll kind of virtually raise your hand, and then I'll be able to unmute you, and you can ask any question you'd like, whether it's going to be for myself or whether it's going to be, when it comes to this whole world of esports or Valhallan in general, feel free to ask any question you like. This is not just a time to say, rah, rah, everything is wonderful. Challenge any aspect of our business model. I'm happy to go in any direction. We have, obviously we have financials in line, so sometimes I can't share those online. I have to share those individually because different states have different rules and laws. So I'll do my best to help walk through some of the financials and try to help with that, but we may have to do some exercises one-on-one when it comes to the actual numbers and the different markets that we're in. So anyways, but we have a few questions, so we'll unmute you and you'll be able to go. All right, there you go. Derek, you have a question?
Yes, sir. As I was sitting here listening to the platform, is this is it in a big venue or is it in a small venue that we're talking about, as far as, having all the gaming systems and?
Yeah, great question. And I have Luke unmuted too, but so our locations range from anywhere from 1,200 square feet to 1,400 square feet. So we are smaller locations. For an example, if you're 1,200 square feet, you can get probably around 28 solid, stations, machines in a 1,200 square foot space.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, for sure. And I believe it's Dennis, do you have a question? Is it Dennis? I don't want to say your number out loud.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm
here, guys.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. You had a question?
Oh, yes, I do have a question. How do I get one of these, like, esports franchise places? Like, I would love to do this. It sounds really cool. I've been wanting to get into esports in general. So, like, in terms of, like, making, like, a place for people to go to practice, get training, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so, well, one of the things is you and I would probably just have a one-on-one conversation. We'd create that roadmap to go forward. So just to kind of build off your question and anybody listening in, we have a very personalized process here. It's not forcing you into doing it our way or the highway. That's why we host these executive calls. We do virtual discovery sessions. We do in-person discovery sessions. We want you to be able to ask questions, absorb information at your pace so that your questions can be answered. So everybody has a little bit different of a roadmap that they have to follow. And the reason I say that is some people are going to have more questions in one area or need more assistance in one area. Maybe it's financials, maybe it's real estate. So we actually have all of these pathways built in partnerships already in place, whether it's going to be financial, whether it be real estate, whether it be technology, like you heard Luke mention briefly. So we have the partnerships in place. So it's really just going to come down to kind of where you need the most assistance, and we kind of guide you down that path. So the best thing for you to do would be to reach out to me. You can either shoot me a text message. Anybody, I give up my cell phone number all the time. If you want to text me, you can text me at 763-516-3578. That's my personal cell phone number. And happy to set up a time to chat one-on-one and go over any questions that you have and kind of start to create that pathway for you.
Can you say your number again? Sorry, 763?
Sure. Yeah, 763-516-3578. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, another question. William, you have a question? Hi, William, you have a question? No? Maybe? Okay. All right, no question? All right, well, another question. We have a couple questions in the chat, which are, what's the franchising fee? What does it include? That's from, so when it comes to the franchise fee, our current franchise fee, so franchises work in a couple different ways. They have a franchise fee and then they have a royalty. Our franchise fee is $30 in the U.S. Currently, right in the U.S. is $30,000. Currently, that's the U.S. franchise fee, and our royalties are 6%. That royalty 6% is whether you're in the U.K., whether you're in Canada, or you're the U.S. The U.K. and Canada, your franchise fees are going to be a little bit lower than that. So we can discuss what that is for yourself. But the franchise fee currently in the U.S., what does that include? You are buying your territory, and you are being fully supported by us, our partners, and our entire organization. Before you create $1 of revenue, you're being supported by an entire team of folks and our partners. So when it comes to the franchise fee, that's how typical franchises work. We do not use brokers. We do not use consultants currently or anything like that. So that franchise fee is not going to pay a commission to a broker or a consultant. It is going to support you as a franchisee before you create $1 of revenue from our entire team and all of our partners. So just so you know where that money actually goes to. The royalties are done per transaction as we move forward and as you create revenue. So as you grow in revenue, obviously you make more money, and obviously we're making more money with you. And that's how the royalties work. It's all done automatically inside of our system. You are not having to wire monies or balance sheets or anything like that. It's all done automatically. And let's see, so what are small esports centers? Can we work? We are a small esports center. Can we work with you? Shoot me a text message, or if you can. If you're in the U.S., obviously you can text me. I will actually also put my email inside of that chat. So if you want to shoot me an email, you can shoot me an email. I just put my email in the chat for you. How large is your current universe, number of current subscribers? Well, in terms of Valhallan Esports League, there's thousands of players inside of Valhallan Esports League. When you talk about who our teams are playing against, we own Valhallan Esports League. We acquired multiple esports franchises, or not franchises, multiple esports platforms and leagues to create what's called the Valhallan Esports League. And the reason we did that, because as a franchise, if Luke has his franchise and I have my franchise, he's in California, I'm in Minnesota, if I'm not as driven as Luke, and Luke is creating all these teams and all this activity, but I'm kind of not. I'm just sitting back. I got a couple of teams. It's not a big deal. That's going to be very frustrating for Luke, because now he's got all these teams and all this action happening, and his kids are only playing against his kids, or very few other kids, or very few other teams, and those coaches. That's going to be frustrating, and you're going to lose players, you're going to lose coaches. So by creating Valhallan Esports League and by having that system in place, it allows you as a franchisee to get up and competing immediately. And it doesn't cost you anything as a franchisee to be a part of Valhallan Esports League. Valhallan Esports League is something that's different than the Valhallan Esports franchise. They have to go through a different set of screening processes, applications. It's mostly schools. There's a code of conduct. So we have to filter out and work with those folks to be sure that it's appropriate. We monitor all of our own Discords and all of our own programs. So it's not like it's the wild, wild west out there and these kids are having an environment that's toxic. That is not a thing. And to speak on that a little bit, and again, if you have any questions, jump on in, go for it. Luke and I can keep going, but I do want Luke to touch on a little bit of the toxicity that happens outside of an organized, structured setting. Luke, can you touch on that a little bit in terms of, if I have you off mute, can you touch on that a little bit? Do I not have you on mute? Yep.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Yep.
There we go. Yeah, so, most of the toxicity that comes from, that is existent in the gaming world is really not from the kids. It's mostly adults, young adults who are playing these games and are saying inappropriate words or, ideas. And ultimately what happens is kids pick up on that and they think it's an appropriate way to talk to people online, and sometimes it even bleeds over into the in-person world. What we've found, though, is that kids actually know what's right and what's wrong, and they won't be using inappropriate language when they know it's all of their peers and there's some kind of supervision there. We're there to constantly remind them and make sure that they're following our rules and our code of conduct and aren't speaking to each other in those ways or using particular words. The other major issue that toxicity causes is the lack of representation of female players, especially at a high level. The really cool thing about gaming is that whether your physical stature, I should say, has no impact on your skill in the game. In the same way that obviously physical stature will impact how good of a football player you'll be. So at the highest level, we should expect to see men and women competing on the same stage, on the same team, but we don't do that. We don't see that because girls are oftentimes put off by the toxicity that they face and that is directed at them, the harassment even, and so they stop playing video games at a really early stage. So what we've done is, our programs are all co-ed. We have girls and boys playing together, and the intention is to teach everyone, but really specifically teach the boys that kind of communication is not appropriate and shouldn't be directed at anyone, especially girls. And so, once that happens, we think in several years, we'll start to see the ramifications of that in the high school setting, and then college, and then ultimately the pros.
Hey, and thanks, I appreciate that. Thanks for giving some insight there. Derek, you mentioned a question about the franchise price includes support and territories. What do you mean by supporting a franchisee? For 12 years, I lived in franchisee support. So that's a great question, and I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that. So for 12 years of my career, I supported in the world's largest fitness franchise. I helped grow that franchise from 50 locations to 3,500, and one of my main responsibilities was supporting franchisees. So as we built out Valhallan, even our last brand that we owned and operated with 800 territories in the youth tech realm that was brick and mortar, building out a support structure for supporting you as a franchisee. We're not a license. This is a franchise. So we support you as a franchisee with, obviously, we have an entire curriculum team with teachers. We have folks like, obviously, Luke, who have a tremendous amount of experience in building virtual programs, curriculums as well. But supporting you as a franchisee is really a moving target, because not every franchisee is going to be supported in the same way. You may need more support in the realm of real estate. You may need more support on performance support. Maybe it's your coaching. We obviously deliver all the coaching guides and build them. We build all the curriculum, and we have an entire marketing team, an entire creative team. And as you get involved with us and you get into our process, we start to unveil more and more about the depth of our program. But an overall realm of how we view franchisee support, it's a moving target. We as a franchise brand have to consistently deliver educational and support materials to the franchisees in multiple different platforms and multiple different, if you want to say, angles, because not every franchisee will be supported the same. I don't need to help some franchisees in the world of marketing. I was just talking to a franchisee the other day who had a $20-some million marketing budget under his control for many, many years. Am I helping him with marketing? Not a whole lot, right? But he doesn't have a lot of experience of working one-on-one with kids and coaches. So support's going to vary in a lot of different ways. And support is really just going to be about the individual franchisee and where we can meet them to help them be more successful internally. We've built our program to be scalable. We are not mobile. Mobile is broken. Mobile doesn't work in this world. So this in-person experience. So we are very much a in-person experience, and that leads to multiple different angles of support. What you really want to make sure you watch for in any type of a franchise is, where is there flexibility and where is there not flexibility? That's one. Two, don't always ask questions in the areas you're strong in. Really do some self-discovery to find out, where am I not strong? Where am I going to need the most amount of help? That's when you're going to want to dig in with that franchise to find out kind of where you line up. Like, how are you going to support me and help me and educate me in the areas that I'm weak, not the areas that I'm strong? And where are my flex points? Where am I able to be really flexible and add my creativity inside of this? Where am I able to do that? And those are really important points to be able to understand. So thanks for the question, Derek. Joel, you had a question, is how many subscribers per location are there and how many should we expect? So one thing that we do, Joel, is when we go through the financials, we actually show you the ebbs and flow of the season that go with subscription students, campers, birthday parties, and all other aspects of revenue. So one thing that we do, Joel, is we actually go through an Excel pro forma. Before you become a franchisee, I use the current financials, what's called in the franchise disclosure documents called an item 19. Inside that item 19 is financial details, and I use that to create, we together go walk through different exercises so you can actually see different scenarios, and we do that together. So it's really hard to say how many per location. I have to be really, really careful. I'm not dodging the question. I'm just walking around it because FTC, the franchise laws, prevent me from giving too many details financially that can give you some kind of mathematical equation in some states. In some states I can, in some states I can't. And since this is a public call, I have to do that with you one-on-one, which I'm more than happy to do. More than happy to do. If I don't really see any other questions, here we go. How large of a franchise area is included with a baseline franchise agreement such that we can make a secure investment? Okay, so great question. So here's one thing that we do. We know we know the age range of our main customer base. So we know that age range. So when we build out your territory, your territory is going to be considered like a circle. If you think of it like your territory circle. And we look for at least 15,000 kids in our age range. And the age range, we obviously have a 7 to 17, but what is really the main age range? Who are the majority of our customers? We take that majority. I'm not going to share that on this public call because it's kind of insightful. So it's pretty cool. So we actually know the main age range. And so that data is really important. So we actually build your territory around the majority of your customers, not our entire age range. Giving you the entire age range is a little bit of sleight of hand. We want to focus in on who are majority of our customers. Okay, so if a majority of our customers are X, that's the number we want to shoot for that at least 15,000. So your territory will continue to expand based on that number. So if we start with 4-mile territory and you're at 8,000, we go to 5-mile territory and you're at 14,000, and we go to 5.5-mile territory and you hit that 15,000, your territory will be 5.5 miles. Then what we do is we also know exactly the drive time on how far parents will drive for a subscription program. That last brand I told you that we built that was a youth coding STEM education franchise that we had more than 400 locations open with about 800 territories with 400 locations open. Well, when we sold that company, there was a tremendous amount of research that was done by that company who acquired that. We get to keep all that data. So we know exactly how far a subscription program parents are going to drive versus campers, workshops, birthday parties, 2 different drive times. So we also use that drive time to be sure that your territory is one that is going to be adequate. And we also walk you through where the other franchises are going to be if there is going to be one. The reason that's important is because we don't want to be cannibalizing. We are a percentage-based franchise. So it's not about the number of territories we have in one little market, because that's what a flat fee franchise does. We're a percentage-based franchise. I don't want a bunch of franchises in one market fighting over the same customers. Now that may look good for the franchise, but it's not good for the franchisee. So we're very franchisee focused. So before you become a franchisee, I actually show you in your market. We do a screen share, and I show you here's where other markets could be. Knowing that we have these numbers and we know exactly what it is that you need to have to be successful, your highest chance of success, we want to make sure that you have that in your market. And nobody else is going to be coming in there and taking half your kids away and fighting with prices and all that kind of stuff. So I hope that helps answer your question a little bit. So I wish I could say to you that it's a cut and dry question. I wish I could say to you that it was just, here's what the answer is, but it's just not that easy with an in-person youth experience. It requires a little bit more detail on the market and the area in general. So I don't really see any other questions. I really do appreciate all the questions. These are fantastic. I don't really see any other questions out there right now. So if, maybe John? John, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I have actually 2, but I guess I can just limit it to 1. I'm sure you want to move on to other people.
No, go ahead. We got plenty of time. We got plenty of time. Don't feel rushed. Go ahead.
All right. How often do you refresh your game lineup?
So games are just the vehicle. We're not married to any certain game. Okay. So whatever games come up and they're the best, we can pivot very fast. We have 2 teachers on staff, multiple esports professionals on staff for developing curriculum. And our curriculum is designed in such a way that we can place in different games pretty quick. I'm not going to say it's like daily, but when it comes to the games, it's all about the most popular games. How are they set up in terms of skill, content, and when it comes to aligning with the curriculum? And if there's a better game out there, let's use it. Like, we're not married to saying we always have to do Valorant, or we always have to do Overwatch or Overwatch 2. We want to use the games that are going to be the best vehicle for delivering our curriculum. And that kids, and how that is, kids have to be excited to be a part of it. So it's not like a bunch of adults sitting around saying, we're going to use that game because we said so. We want to use the games that the kids are most excited about and that are appropriate and live with that can live within our curriculum.
Okay. All right. And the last thing, when let's say we're to open a esports franchise, now the name Valhalla. Now here in my market, there's a place called Valhalla. It's an axe throwing thing. Now, would I have to worry about LLC licensing and all that, the name? Now, would I just put it like, would I be blank name brought to you by Valhalla, or what would I do in that scenario?
No, we have our trademarks. Valhallan Esports Training Academy is ours. We own it. Valhallan is ours.
Okay.
We own the trademark. So there's nobody that can come in and use our name.
Okay. All right.
And no matter what market we're in, we can go right into that market and use our name. And if anybody, we can challenge people. So that's not a problem going after people that to try to use our name.
Okay. Well, in that case, when you're throwing the esports in there, they're not covering the esports. We just have Valhalla. So, okay. I just want to know.
Yeah, they're Valhalla. Yeah, we're Valhallan. But yeah, thank you. Awesome. One more question maybe down here? Maybe? Okay, I did answer your question. Okay, good. All right. Well, Luke, as you kind of went through any of this, is there anything else that you wanted to add, like going on in the world of the collegiate level and how Valhallan connects to the collegiate level or pro level, or anything else you want to add as we kind of wrap up today, Luke?
I'd just say that these youth programs are really eye-opening to a lot of kids and their parents who aren't aware of all of the different opportunities that esports can provide, and those opportunities are going to continue to grow. We work with a lot of kids in like the late elementary to middle school age. So, and we oftentimes will host informational sessions similar to this one, but more focused on how their kids can continue to be successful in esports. So how to join a high school or start a high school team, how to apply for a college scholarship. There are millions of dollars that are being given away to play on esports teams in colleges. And then, of course, the reality is most kids are not going to be a professional gamer when they grow up, in the same way that most kids are not going to be professional basketball or football players. But there are a ton of opportunities to use that passion for video games and to build a career upon it, whether it's in marketing or sales, or you want to be a coach or a graphic designer. So this is just an awesome opportunity to educate those kids and introduce them to what could be, the rest of their life, a career.
Well, I appreciate that, Luke. So obviously we have successful numbers to show. We have a roadmap to show. We beta tested. We are currently still beta testing even retro leagues and doing everything we can do to be able to experiment outside of what you're doing as a franchisee to either drive traffic, create new programs. This is not a new world for us. This may be an emerging brand, but we have a very experienced team in the world of tech education, esports, franchising. So we're here to support you as a franchisee and grow with you. We believe that our franchisees are what makes us great. And we have to have great, engaged franchisees. That does not mean you run your location daily. But what that does mean is that we value your feedback to grow as a brand and to continue to develop as a brand. We have experienced great success with that concept, that baseline of knowing that our franchisees add a tremendous amount of value and how we grow. We don't want to sit back and be talking heads in a corporate room saying this is how the franchise moves forward. We've already developed a franchise advisory council. We know the importance of franchisee feedback and the wisdom and value that you bring to the table. So we thank you for your time today. Really do appreciate it. Again, you have my cell phone number. I put my email in the chat. Happy to jump on a call, bring you into the process, which is very personalized, whether it's visiting a location, whether it's a virtual discovery session, an in-person discovery session. We're here to be able to help you through this process so that you can absorb this information and make the best decision and investment for yourself and hopefully for the future. So thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Your next step would be to reach out to me, and happy to jump on a call. I will make time to chat with you. And again, thanks for your time today. Much appreciated. Have a great rest of your day.